Hi, welcome back to Movie Review Mom. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me here as we talk about movies. Be sure and subscribe, ring that little bell, and it'll notify you every time I upload a new video, which is every week, sometimes many times during the week. So today, the movie I'm reviewing is called Stro. Now, let me tell you the scoop on this movie. It's available today, October 9th, and it's, first of all, available at the Marina del Rey Film Festival. So to be able to see it, it's being aired exclusively on Roku, and the channel on Roku is called the Shorts Daily Channel. For only $5.99, you gain access to almost 300 films that are going to be aired during the film festival. That's amazing. That's cheaper than the streaming movie you probably bought last night. So be sure and check this out. Now, if you don't know about Roku, let me give you the deal. So many years ago, my family and I were attending this conference. It was sort of this outdoor event, and it was close to where we lived, so we didn't have to travel very far. But at the end of the day, it started to snow. And one of the classmates whom we had met during the course of the day revealed that he had driven all the way from San Francisco and was going to just sleep in his car that night. Well, I wasn't going to have any of that. And even though we were technically strangers, you know how you kind of get vibes from people, and we felt completely safe with him. And so we invited him to spend the night in our house, which was not that far away from the conference, in a warm guest bedroom with all the privacy he would need. And we would have doors to lock in case he was going to murder us. No, it was all good. Anyway, we had a lovely time together. I think we even had dinner together. And then the next morning, we all traipsed back to the conference because it was a 2-day conference. Anyway, to thank us, later he shipped us a box with a Roku in it because he worked at Roku. And we were so surprised to receive a gift from him, but thought that that was super sweet, but didn't really understand what Roku was all about. So honestly, I'm embarrassed to admit that the box just sat unopened for many months until finally, probably a day after I got another monthly bill from our satellite dish service for our entertainment. I thought, man, we sure are spending a lot of money on monthly entertainment. And then I remembered that Roku, and I thought, wait, I think you said something about how we could watch stuff for free. So finally, my husband and I figured out how to plug it in, attach it, and get it up and running. And our little heads just exploded with joy when we realized we didn't have to pay that expensive satellite dish bill anymore because we had more than enough to watch on Roku. Now, you can also add shows to Roku like Netflix and HBO and Showtime. And, you can rack up a big bill by adding a lot of channels, but there's plenty to see. So that's my scoop on Roku. We love it. And it's so easy to use, so easy to install. This isn't a commercial for Roku. But anyway, just to give you a heads up, there is another way rather than paying expensive satellite dish services. Anyway, let me tell you about this movie. First of all, there wasn't a rating attached to it, but I'm giving it a rated R simply because of the multiple F-bombs in the movie. Take out the language and it's, PG, maybe PG-13 for references of smoking, drugs, alcohol, and stuff like that. But I'm jumping ahead of myself. Let me tell you about tips for parents in a minute. The movie is an hour and 27 minutes, and I'm going to give you my movie review mom rating at the end just to force you to watch to the very end. So let me give you a quick nutshell. I'll point out tips for parents and the things that I liked and didn't like, and then I'll give you my rating at the end. All right, so first of all, the film opens with an intriguing quote by Carl Jung. It says, "Nature herself demands a death and rebirth, a process of inner transformation and rebirth into another being." And I think that's an entirely appropriate way to begin this story. But first, in full disclosure, my old high school buddy, Greg Lynch Jr., actually wrote and co-directed this film. Doug Nichols co-directed the film, and then together they also created the fencing documentary called The Last Captain. When I did an interview with Greg when he launched The Last Captain, we talked for so long that I actually divided into two parts. So anyway, you can watch that at the end of this movie review. That'll be the little movie that you can click on to see that. I tried really hard not to be biased, but it really is a good documentary, and I'm so proud of him. So good job, Greg. The movie itself is, as I mentioned, a documentary, and it's a very insightful tribute to the fencing legend Michael DeSaro. It has already been accepted into 6 film festivals, the most prestigious one being the Warsaw International Film Festival. And part of that group includes the Cannes Film Festival, Venice, and Berlin. So huge kudos to Greg. And the only sad thing is that because of COVID, he's not going to get to travel to those incredible international destinations to attend those film festivals. And honestly, I don't know if they're doing virtual film festivals or the real thing. But anyway, so that's a big fat bummer for him. But again, congratulations for launching a really great documentary. So tips for parents. As I mentioned, there's some profanity, including multiple F-bombs. And unless kids are really into fencing, they're probably going to be bored. If they do watch the movie, however, they're going to learn a lot about the various styles of fencing, swords that are used in the sport, and the hard work that it takes to become a champion. There is talk of marijuana, drugs, and alcohol viewed in certain pictures and video clips. Now, the themes that are introduced through the documentary are determination and persistence, teamwork, sportsmanship, standing for one's principles. And I think that that was a really interesting element based on a decision that Stro, this great fencing champion, made at a crucial time in his career. Coaching techniques, good ones and bad ones, and recreating your life. And that's why I think that that quote at the beginning is so appropriate, because one of the lessons that we learn is you can recreate yourself. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, Stro had multiple careers within the fencing world. And so I thought that that was really interesting to learn about that. Now, the things that I liked were plenty. First of all, I loved the really creative ways that some of the interviews were featured. For example, on the screen, you see a series of like written pamphlets or programs that would have been distributed during, a tournament or something like that. And they have pictures, and they're from a long time ago in black and white. And so inside one of them is an actual video clip of, a moving video interview. Anyway, I just thought that that was really cute. And it kind of reminded me of the Harry Potter portraits on the walls that talk, to the students as they're walking around. Anyway, I thought it was pretty clever. The film also doesn't shy away from the darker sides of Michael DeSaro's career and personal life. It was interesting to see how Michael coached with the same abusive style that his own coach had used to train him. Back then, a coach tried to toughen up his students in ways that are definitely considered quite unacceptable and controversial today. And so the comments from Michael's students during that period of training where he was really rough on them was actually really insightful. It was great to learn about the positive impact Michael had on women in fencing and how his coaching efforts truly opened doors for women in the sport. I enjoyed seeing interviews with a variety of people who knew Michael from the different stages of his life, from teammates to his students to even one of his spouses, and to hear the different Michael that they each knew. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, in fact, with Greg, the co-director of the movie, even though he spent some time in Ireland. But when we knew each other and when we went to high school, that was in the San Francisco Bay Area at Monte Vista High School. Shout out to the Matadors and my alma mater. Anyway, I used to go into San Francisco, and my mom, for some reason, loved to go down the Haight-Ashbury area, as tourists, and imagine the kind of people that used to live there in the 60s and 70s, kind of at the height of the hippie era in that hippie Mecca. And sure enough, Michael spent some time there. And so it was interesting to see pictures from that era as well. Now, because there's mention of drugs and how Michael, as a coach, gave drugs to his students, that's one of the controversial coaching techniques that's mentioned in the movie. But the interviews and selected pictures really painted a colorful picture of that time. And it was fascinating to see the physical transformation of Michael throughout his life, from when he had, short hair and was a respectable coach, to when he grew it long and went through the hippie period. And then even as he got older in life and started losing hair and that kind of thing. The music by Philip Craich is really wonderful, and it feels like a movie as soon as the music starts playing. Great job with that. Now, I have to mention that Greg Lynch Jr., the co-director, was hilarious back when we were on the speech and debate team in high school. And he still is. I love that he shares his personal insights on the film's website, where you can read about how the film was made. And indie filmmakers especially will appreciate the ups and downs that he shares in the movie making business. Now, he spent 25 years building sets for movies like Tremors and Angels and Demons, among many others. And he also directed hundreds of short videos for Kung Fu Tai Chi magazine. So his film career has a lot of variety and a lot of great experience. And then all films, of course, have to be edited. And so if you're dying to see what you missed in this documentary, you can watch a bunch of the deleted scenes on the movie website, which is strothemovie.com. And then I really love the movie poster. That one image of Michael in the lower right-hand corner of the poster really makes him look like one of the French musketeers that you see in the movies, don't you think? So I asked Greg about that movie poster, and he said that his friend Lyndall Wolf did the poster. And that Lyndall Wolf is a man that he's worked with in the film industry ever since he started. Currently, he's making headway doing paintings of old motorcycles. So I signed up my family for fencing lessons just to see what it was all about. And one of the interviewed students in the film talked about all of those painful lunges, and I could absolutely relate. I could hardly walk the day after we had our first fencing lesson because we did a lot of lunges. And I didn't realize how many muscles in my quadriceps I hadn't been working every day because, things hurt in places I had never felt before. Most cities actually do have some kind of a fencing program. And so you should definitely check it out. It definitely will give you an appreciation of this sport that has a rich history. Now, there were a few things that I didn't like. And honestly, I had to think of some things because I want this review to at least appear fair and balanced, right? So I'm a big Neil Diamond fan. And so it would have been fun to learn more about the connection between Neil Diamond and Michael DeSaro. So Greg, the director, told me one of our bigger regrets for the film was the connection to Neil Diamond wasn't bigger. DeSaro and Diamond were both teammates on the 1960 NYU championship team, but the relationship wasn't as close as we had hoped. So I left that story out as it was more of a distraction. So that's too bad. But you can see again some of the outtakes that didn't make it into the movie, and I'll put the YouTube description above and below. Now, I mentioned one of the things that I really liked about the movie was the very stylish editing. It was very prevalent in the first maybe third half of the movie. And then not so much at the end. It kind of petered out and just became like a regular documentary. There were a few choppy editing cuts within interviews when, like what I do in my movie reviews, where I say something and then I mess up and then I have to chop it and slice it and make it appear fluid. So there were a couple of moments like that. And then maybe I blinked, but I don't really remember hearing anybody explain really well why Michael DeSaro was nicknamed Stro. So I don't know. Like I said, maybe I turned and missed it. I don't know. I'm sure Greg will email me and let me know. So be sure to look at his comments down below because he might comment on this movie review. All right, so movies that I would recommend are The Three Musketeers, as I mentioned, if you really want to see some fun fencing. And then also check out the movie The Last Captain. It's also available, I believe, on Amazon right now. So check that out. Thank you again so much. Oh, and the grade that I gave the movie was, yeah, you guessed it, an A from my buddy. Good job, Greg. Thanks for spending some time. Bye for now.